Well, I think it's been a while since I made an actual proper video, so here we go. This is kind of my top 10 ouds. They're not really in any order or top 10-iness. I think probably my favourite is up the top, of course. Now, let's, none of my viewers really are that crazy or into all of this, where they're going to be, well, this is technically that's not oud or whatever. Okay, some of these may have synthetic ouds, but to me smell very good, and I can't tell. I mean, could any of us? And also the what's it calls? They all may have arga wood in, which is a tree. Is it, or the Kayali wood, whatever it is? No, it's not called that. Aquila. I don't know. I will pop it up on the screen. Not Akigala wood. That's ignore that. And the different types of oud from all over the world, and I know at least one of them has like a fresh oud. There's all sorts of different sorts of it. Some can have that smell that everybody associates oud with, like a slight fecal smell sometimes. Sprayed fields, which is beautiful to me. Vomit. Sock vomit, as I think it is, like a quite cheesy kind of feel, or it can be just beautifully woody and elegant and like really classy and sophisticated. So yeah, oud is a lot of things, isn't it? And again, whether it's an accord or not is irrelevant. We don't make videos where we talk about, I don't know, lavender and say, well, is this a lavender accord? Does that make it less lavendery? It's just like, who cares really? If you're calling it an oud fragrance and claiming there's oud in it, well, okay, that's a bit different, isn't it? But again, can many of us really smell the difference or what have you? Probably not. So anyway, that's my waffle with this. Here goes. So we'll start with one that's one of my favourites ever, as we know, and that's Oud Rosewood from Dior. This is predominantly kind of raspberry, a nice fruity feel through it, a leatheriness, and there is a touch of like oud, whether it's the woody feel or the leathery feel in it, is neither here nor there, because obviously the rosewood is one of the main things about it as well, obviously, hence the name. But I think what it does in this fragrance is it adds that little bit of that extra rich, classy woodiness to it. Again, I couldn't tell you what sort of oud or whatever it is. I would presume it's just arga wood that's in there, and but it's got this like I say, rich woodiness that sits in the base and adds that bit of class to it. Now, if you don't know this one, it starts off quite fruity, but really what's left lingering is the raspberry that mixes in nicely with the woods and the leather. And the leather just it's not particularly strong. It just gives that texture, a little bit of a growl in it. It's just such a beautiful fragrance. Raspberry's been used a lot over the years, but in this one I think it's a fairly unique one. And the rosewood itself, to me, rosewood it's kind of a dark, shiny, it makes me think of dark chests and things like that, and there's a kind of sweetness about it as well. I think that mixing with what might be oud in there, just like I say, it finishes it off, it rounds it nicely. And again, yeah, so that's Oud Rosewood from Dior. Next up is Zafar from Oman Luxury. Now this is a really tricky one for me to describe, but it's kind of leathery, saffrony, but not too much, not too strong. And also it's got this kind of vegetal feel about it early on. There's rose, there's florals in it, and I think the oud in this one gives a little bit of a kind of with the patchouli, I would imagine, is it's more that earthy touch, and part of it, and it grounds the fragrance. Like I say, I think it's mainly about them kind of darker, savoury florals, and obviously there's musks and that, and the leatheriness again might be something that comes from the oud. And this one, it's obviously all the notes together. It's not just, you know, you can't just say it's specific things about it. Give it this kind of Middle Eastern feel, you know, the spices, the woods, and the oud feel to it. It just gives it, it kind of takes you to this dry place with yeah, quite dry florals all mixed in with the spices and everything else. And it's another very classy, elegant fragrance. And I think the oud emphasises where it's from, and this is not an easy one that you're going to fall in love with, love at first sniff. I think it took me a few wearings to really kind of get to grips with it, and like I say, as you can tell, it's hard to describe. It's one I'd say sample, but it's a very lovely one. So from Oman Luxury is Zafar. So next to a much kind of easier one. They were both kind of heavy and big in their own ways, and this one is a kind of really light, ethereal oud. I'm trying to, again, what do the notes matter? It's what I can smell. But there's this kind of fresh oud, and a kind of, I don't think there's no sweetness in it. I think it's cardamom, and it's just really ethereal. There might be a little whisper of tea or something like that in it as well, which gives it that kind of, again, fresh, beautiful, airy feel. Sorry, that's Keeping It Simple from KIS, from Hal of Hove, which is a small indie brand, which I'd recommend trying if you can. But yeah, it's this really calm, beautiful oud. If you imagine walking through this forest, and there's obviously agarwood, oud trees or whatever growing everywhere, and it's dry. It's like a dry Indian forest, but the air's fresh and vibrant, so it'd be like a morning. I've never been to India. I don't know if they have like weather situations like this, but that's kind of what it's like. And the sun's beaming through the branches, and everything is still and peaceful. Just that cool breeze and the smell of all the woods, and some of the greenness there, and some of the beautiful soft spices in the air. It's really vibrant and calm and freshening. It's not anything like you'd expect. If you know, we all have a kind of thing in our mind what oud's like. It's just that beautiful woodiness, and it's I believe it's an oud specifically grown to be kind of fresh and spring-like, if you like. It's a spring oud, and it just is absolutely beautiful. Again, one of my best discoveries of last year, which there were quite a few. I'll have to do a video on that, but that's by the by. So it's beautiful, and that's called Keeping It Simple from Hal of Hove. Next is an oud masterpiece, and again, I don't think there's any oud in this one, and that's what I mean. It's from Matiere Premier, and it's called Oud XIII. And again, I will never remember all 7 ingredients. Agarwood might be one of them. Leather, I think maybe cypriol. So all these elements basically that go together to create like an oud accord, if you like. And that's what the fragrance is. It's built with. Sometimes you can pick out some of the notes, other times you can't, because like I say, it smells like a nice woody oud with a kind of earthiness, again, for probably the patchouli and the cypriol, giving it a kind of greener, earthy feeling. And it's just magnificent. It's not particularly loud or obnoxious. I wouldn't call it challenging remotely. I don't think it has, again, these Western perceived ideas of it being funky or anything like that. It's just very classy and very elegant. It's such an easy wear again. It is quite big, I'm not going to say it's not, and again it's probably better for the cooler, crisper weather, or getting dressed up and you know, going out and stuff. It's something that I think people just think, oh, that's a very classy kind of smelling perfume. That chap or chapess may have a few spondoolies at home. They smell very classy and just gorgeous. And it's again, it's not going to be for everyone, because it does go along that path of being loud and edgy, but not too edgy, but edgy again compared to, you know, your high street Jean-Paul Gaultier, whatever caramel vomit is out at the moment and that sort of thing. It's not your Sauvage or anything like that. It's very classy, very elegant and beautiful. And so that's Oud 7 from Matiere Premier. Now the next one is from Kilian, which, as we know, used to be one of my favourite houses, and going by the Oud Fragrances, still is. And now this is a masterpiece from them, and it's one I will get, hopefully not reformulated, hopefully an old formulation of it, because I don't want this one to be massively changed. But it's Pearl Oud, and it used to be one of them stupid boutique exclusives. I don't think it is anymore. But anyway, this is so good. It does open with kind of a very animalic, naughty grr, very animalic, a little bit fecal, a little bit kind of pissy and what have you. But I don't think that's the Oud. I think that's probably from the castoreum, which then, as it develops, moves down a bit. I think the Oud is there in the beginning, but it's more of a kind of a woody, leathery naughtiness rather than the kind of filthier element coming from the castoreum. And it moves down, and they wove nicely into the base. It's obviously a little bit of a florals in there, I think rose maybe, but it's not a rose Oud particularly, I'd say. There's some spices, and it just all comes together. And this is another one of them that transports you. I can't remember where it's from. I keep wanting to say Dhaka, but I don't think it is. So we're not gonna say that. But it takes you to a rich, you know, let's say Muscat or somewhere, a posh, beautiful but authentic kind of Middle Eastern city. We're not talking tacky Dubai here. We're talking a proper place, a cultured place with real history and stuff. And it's calmer, isn't it? Not built by slavery like Dubai, let's say. Anyway, it's one of them sorts of places, and you can smell the rich history, the people that lived there, all the kind of development of the city, and like an old town part of it. But also you can smell the class and the sophistication of the modernisation and things like that. It's beautiful, it's so elegant, and that kind of naughty, warm touch does kind of stay through it. It's woven through it, and it just adds to the pure class of it. I say class a lot because I think that refers to Oud, but yes, it's very elegant, and then the rich, noble woodiness. Again, could be the Oud, could be other notes, etc. It's a magnificent Kilian creation. It's of course got the muskiness from Kilian. It's got a suitable amount of sweetness. It's not over the top. It doesn't take away from it. It's not a sweet, saccharine, you know, daft fragrance. It's very elegantly done. And there's the saffron again, which might add a bit of the leatheriness to it, but it's an actual saffron. It's not that horrific kind of plaster, thick, choky saffron. It's an elegant one. So yeah, I could waffle on ages about this and not say much, like I probably haven't. That's Pearl Oud from Kilian. Next one up is from Frederic Malle, and it's the Night. This was a very dangerous love at first sniff. This fragrance is what, £1,100, and again it's been Estee Laudered now, so I have a 10mm travel size that I got from a place that sells official, not official, but you know, legit travel sizes apparently, and it's quite different. It's a lot sweeter and easier. Not sweeter as in it's really sugary, but it's just a lot kind of easier and stuff. And there is a part, I don't question the legitimacy of the travel size, because we all know what Estee Lauder do to fragrances. In my humble opinion, not wanting to be sued, but I think I can smell the difference myself. You know, this is my opinion. But yeah, it does make me worry. But when the version I smelt, which was in a shop, it's probably very old, was just, you get the little bit of the kind of tricky, earthy, little bit of the fecal kind of touch of the oud there for maybe half an hour or so, and then it blends in with the rose. It's not a rose oud again, it's rose and oud together. I couldn't smell where the rose starts and the oud finishes. Musks, I think there's cypriol in it. It's quite a dark one, but it's just really elegant again. And I'm going to say that C word, damn classy. It's magnificent. Now I don't know whether when Frederic Malle originally made it, it was worth what it was, but I suspect the real oud used is not cheap. In the modern version, if it's been reformulated, like the one I smell, you know, I don't want to say what's in it and what's not in it, but we know. But yes, it is very classy, elegant, sophisticated, and I suppose it does have that exclusive smell to go with that very exclusive price. Again, I will never own a full bottle. I just won't. You know, you'd say, well, if I saw a bottle for 200 quid on eBay, if I saw a bottle for 200 quid on eBay, it's not real. That's the top and bottom of it, isn't it? I will cherish my travel size, which does smell like it, like I say, but much kind of easier and lighter and rosier, but a beautiful fragrance nonetheless. That is The Night from Frederic Malle. Next, going back to a more kind of lighter, realistically priced, more mass appealing one, I suppose, and that is from Kayali, and that's Oudgasm Tobacco Oud. This was the one I always fancied trying from them lot, especially when you watch the reviews and stuff, because it sounded the most interesting, and to be fair, it's really nice. Now it is quite strong and quite dense, as you'd expect. It's the oud is there. Now you have that kind of oud feeling, if you like, when it opens, which moves to the back and kind of lingers through it. It's very cleverly, it's probably an accord, but it's very cleverly done. And then you've got honey and tobacco in there. Now some people seem to think it smells like tobacco vanille from Tom Ford, which apparently every honey and tobacco fragrance in the world smells like. Look, I get it a bit. There's obviously the sweeter spices and stuff in there. I get it a little bit, but not really. The tobacco starts off to me quite like a blonde, dried, light tobacco, and then it becomes more pipey, more deep. There's a resinous feeling in there. It's just a very easygoing, easy to wear kind of oud style tobacco fragrance. I've never smelt tobacco oud from Tom Ford, but I don't think it's probably like this. I would love to smell that one day, by the way, but I don't think this is like that. It's just it's its own fragrance as well. It's just nice and easy. Like I say, it's a bit heavier and darker, definitely a cooler weather one to me personally, and the oud feeling in it is very good. It's very nice. Yeah, I suppose if you're watching it for this, what do you need more? What it smells like? The kind of flavour and feel of tobacco vanille, but darker, with an oud accord in it, and a kind of leatheriness and a kind of denser feel, not as sweet. In other words, absolutely nothing like it whatsoever. But that is Kayali's, sorry, Oudgasm Tobacco Oud 04 Kayali. I think I got it right this time. Now we're getting towards the end of the video, still a few more though, don't get excited. It's one from Swedoft, and that is Bohemian. Now I'm going to be brief because I've spoken about this one all the time, so much. Again, to me, subjectively, a masterpiece. It's massive without being obnoxious. It's basically leather with a kind of greener, a little greener touch in there. There's a little bit of a kind of fruity booziness, which is quite beautiful. Tons of woods, lots of different, I think there might be gaiac in there, there could possibly be rosewood, and of course the oud is in there as well. And it just has this rich, beautiful, classy, elegant woodiness. There's a kind of, like I say, the animalic kind of feel a little bit from the leather, and maybe the oud as well, all with this kind of whiskey boozy fruitiness over it all. There's loads of spices and stuff, and you don't need every note listed. It just smells to me like you're riding a horse, you know, with some raw leather saddle over it. You're chugging on your little hip flask of you know, whiskey and that. You could be a Viking, you could be a cowboy, you could be me complaining about how it's hurting my manhood. You know what I mean? It's just that kind of outdoorsy feel, big, bold. It's not a fragrance for everyone. It's not a fragrance anyone would miss if someone's wearing it, and that. It's just incredible. My favourite from Swedoft, and they have some damn nice fragrances actually, but this is my favourite. So that's Bohemian from Swedoft. Then from Floris, I bet you never thought there'd be a Floris in here. And I'm not talking about every single fragrance with a oud or an oud accord or whatever in it, because what's the point in that? You have to be able to smell it. And in this one, you definitely can. That's honey oud. Now this is like a delicate dance, like it's a romantic oud, if you like. It's a sensual, soft one, and you've got the honey on one side, and you've got the oud woodiness on the other, and in the middle you've got a soft, powdery, silky rose. And primarily that's what this is. It's them three notes working together. Again, a magic musk over it all. But that's like your sprinkle on the top, isn't it? And they caress each other, they move in and out of each other, all three notes. Sometimes they're all one together, sometimes they're kind of, you know, just, what's the right word, canoodling with each other. The honey is a light, smooth, silky, soft kind of honey, you know. I want to say I imagine it's like something else, we won't go there. And then the woods, like I say, are quite not hard and not harsh and not bold, but they're elegant, they're there, you can smell them, they're very much a big part of it. And then you've got the rose, like I say, is pink, powdery, soft in the middle, and it's kissing and smooching with each of them, and it's just a really, really beautiful fragrance. Probably not describe what it smells like too much there, but that's what it is to me. It's magnificent. And again, I hate using words like this, a Western oud, most likely. It's very easygoing, nothing challenging, just beautiful, sophisticated, and like I say, quite sensual and lovely. So that's honey oud from Floris. And finally is another one of them love at first sniff. Sampled it again and again and again. Silver Oud, Opus 13 from Amouage. Now when I sampled it, first time I sprayed it, I was hit with a kind of big, bold, dirty feeling. Again, more likely the castoreum than the oud, but it had that kind of fecally, leathery, maybe slight edge, even a bit blue cheesy edge to it, which could have been the oud with the castoreum. And then that kind of moves back. The castoreum very much stays, but more again as a kind of warm growl, cuddle kind of feeling in the bottom. Oh, look at that mushroom. Look how weird that's grown. That's quite fascinating. Sorry, this is not a mushroom video, is it? But yeah, anyway, where was I? It was, yeah, and then it develops in your kind of the birch. The smoke is quite strong, and it is, I suppose maybe it's where the name or the idea, whatever, comes from. It is like a silver smoke in the air. It's not necessarily, you know, a bonfire or ash. It's not as ashy as myths. It's just a smokiness, a really smooth kind of smokiness, which sounds odd again. And also, as it develops, again, this is not a listed note or anything, and I've never heard anybody, well, very few people have ever spoken about this, to be fair. But I get an irisy silverness, you know, like a bois d'argent, you know, that kind of, you can see silver iris strings going through it, and I get a bit of that personally. But then obviously it's an Assam oud, isn't it? And it is the actual real deal, which is just such this classy woody. I wish I could find a better word of woodiness. Nutty. Again, what does nutty mean? Nuts all smell different. Nutty, slightly leathery, and then it gets, as it develops, it gets a little sweeter. Not like one of them caramel ouds in them fragrances that cost a ridiculous amount of money, that kind of all smell the same from a certain brand. Not like that, but it does have that sweet, natural sweetness in it. There isn't any notes in it that I would say would add a sweetness. It's a kind of natural sweetness from the woods and stuff, and it's magnificent, smoky, birchy, oudy, castoreum-y, slightly sweet masterpiece of fragrance. And like I say, when I first smelt it, it was like, oh wow, how much? 450, but no. So it became a dream. And then obviously, so as you find out, Amouage has moved into the discounters. This one didn't. I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and it didn't. And then one day I saw it and I was like, oh my god. And I mean, the price of it was incredible, because there was an extra discount on top of it. Loads again, it had gone. But eventually I found it for not £450, let's put it like that. Yeah, it's all subjective. It probably is worth that, to be fair. It is just perfumery at its best, with the best ingredients and stuff. It's brilliant. I'm bound to say that, but I don't regret it. The bottle, like the sample, it doesn't really have the kind of naughty opening anymore, which I'm disappointed about. And again, this shows that there was a part of me thinking, has this been reformulated? But no, given the difference of the times when I smelt the sample, no, it hasn't. It'd be a bit soon to do it, I would think, as well. And obviously it's already reformulated from the original Opus 13 in the old bottle. Oh, sorry, it's not reformed. It's supposed to be exactly the same juice in there. But yeah, it's magnificent, and I have worn it quite a lot recently, because I need to, really. Although I think this will work in the warmer weather, as long as you don't go stupid with it. And why am I still talking? So that's Amouage's Silver Oud Opus 13. So what about yourselves? I mean, these are my favourites. There could be more in there or whatever, and again, I'm not a snob with stuff like this. I'm not particularly bothered whether it's accords or whatever, as long as it's good. I mean, oud is a rare ingredient. It's very expensive, and also for sustainability reasons, if they can come up with accords and what have you that smell just as good as the real thing, well, why not? But however, they don't do this. There's some horrific smelling cheap ouds, as we know, And if you're buying a bottle of fragrance for 90, 20 quid, whatever, ain't gonna have the real thing. You know this. But it could. That's not to say it's bad. It could have a really good accord in it or whatever. Or it might be just really awful. But that's the same whether you're buying a 20 quid fragrance or a 400 quid fragrance. You know, that says it has oud in it. You might still get that not very good synthetic accord. Or you might get a really good, do you know what I mean? I don't think you should be a snob with it. Sniff it, and if you like it, and everything's accords nowadays, isn't it? So if you like it, and whatever. I know all this contradicts me going, oh my god, I just had to own silver oud. But that's a special one. What if it turns out in 5 years it was all an accord? Would it make a difference? Would it make me like the fragrance less? No, it wouldn't. So yeah, I've waffled on so much about all of that. What's your favourite fragrance with oud or an oud accord in it? Are you a fan of it? Do you always associate it with that kind of more kind of fecal, naughty, sprayed feels kind of thing, or do you like a more kind? Do you like that kind of one? The first ever real oud I smelt was from my Scottish friend Matthew, and he sent me a little thing and blew my head off. Not gonna lie, and at first it was a bit tricky. Now I love it, and it was the sprayed feels thing, which to me personally, because of where I'm from, is a really nostalgic feeling. I love it. But this oud would cost, well, more than my tears cost, we'll put it like that. And it just, the way it developed and opened up and grew, and this unbelievably, it's hard to describe without using the word woody, because that's all, my vocabulary is really small and crap. But it's just this pure, like you've cracked open an ancient tree, and it's been baking in the sun, and it just smells like this. It's hard to describe, but it makes you feel something inside, and that's what I get from oud. But again, I don't mind accords or what have you. Some fragrances we know don't have it. There are some, like I say, there are some luxury brands that may use a little nubbin of it, that make the really kind of caramelly, sweet, kind of mass appealing nonsense, subjectively. So yeah, I still appear to be talking. This has been a ridiculously long video of me rambling, and nobody knows what anything I've spoken about smells like or whatever. But anyway, thanks for watching, folks. Bye.